Welcome to this Discovery webinar for the PE Life Skills Award. We're delighted to have so many of you join us today. So a big thank you to giving up your time this afternoon. We're really looking forward to sharing information and good practice with you today on all aspects about the award. So without further ado, we're going to do some introductions. The PE Life Skills Award, or PELSA as it's known, was launched in 2021 through a partnership between the Leadership Skills Foundation and Youth Sport Trust. And today's session has both organisations here. So we'll give a quick introduction to ourselves. I'll start with myself. I'm Gareth Buckley. I'm the Accreditation Manager for the Leadership Skills Foundation. I support schools delivering PELSA with the likes of gaining approval, accessing resources, and probably most importantly, providing certificates upon completion of the award. On the call today, I'm joined by my colleague, Joe.
Thank you, Gaz. Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks all for joining. As Gaz has said, my name's Joe. I'm a business development officer, but my role with the PE Life Skills Award is to support centres with any queries they've got, help them get set up, and then, support you through the journey while you deliver with us. Thanks, Gaz.
And from the Youth Sport Trust, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Jade.
Yep. Hi everyone, my name's Jade Malone. I'm the Primary PE Development Manager at the Youth Sport Trust. So all the primary schools on the call today, if you have further questions, if you want to ask anything whilst we're on the call, please do fire them my way. Unfortunately, James Walker, my colleague at Youth Sport Trust, he's the secondary PE Development Manager. He isn't very well today, so he isn't able to join us. But again, any questions from a secondary perspective, we'll try and answer them today. And if not, I'll get in touch with James and get back to you on those. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Bit of housekeeping, just so everyone is aware of a few things. So first thing to make you all aware of, this session is being recorded today. So it will be made available to you that have attended and to those that did register but unfortunately couldn't attend for whatever reason. Cameras, if you've got cameras and you want to have it on, brilliant. It's nice to look at some faces rather than blank screens or little circles. And microphones, for the time being, we're going to place everybody on mute so there's no background interference or noise. However, during the session, we would love to hear from you by questions and contributions. So if you have questions, there's a couple of ways you can go about asking those. You can use the raise your hand function. And when you do that, we'll come to you, we'll mute your microphone and you can ask the question verbally, which is great to have that interaction. And also we have the chat function. So if you wanted to type any questions away in there as we go through, please feel free to do so. Joe's going to be manning that box for me, and we'll pause the session at various points just to take questions and answer them. Please do ask questions. There's no silly questions. We'll certainly do our best to answer them, but if we can't answer them today, we'll make sure we follow up with you afterwards to give you the information you're looking for. Okay, so in today's session, we have four main areas we're going to be focusing upon. Firstly, an overview of what PELSA is. Next, we're going to hear from our guest presenter, Nathan, who will introduce more formally shortly. He's going to share with us his experience of delivering PELSA in his primary school setting. We'll also show you some examples of the resources available that will support you with your delivery. As I've already said, there'll be plenty of opportunities to ask questions, so please do take that opportunity, and we'll finish up the session by looking at the next steps and how to get started in your delivery journey. Just to start by giving you a little bit of context, we currently have a network of well over 100 schools across the country that are in different settings delivering the PELSA. We've got a good split between primary schools, secondary schools and SEND settings. And to give you a bit of context, for the last full delivery year, so in the 24-25 year, we had over 3,500 pupils that have gained the award. And from the schools that claim certification, on average, it was 87. And we had the highest school that delivered to 304 students. So looking at schools delivering across whole year groups in a secondary setting to a SEND small school setting that had 3 pupils that gained the award. So this just highlights that there's lots of flexibility with the award, no matter what the size or type of your school setting. And we'll bring out lots of examples of that as we go through the session today. With us being in the 5th year of the award, we've received loads of brilliant feedback from schools that have delivered PELSA. So on screen here, we've selected a few examples of kind of impact statements from schools, and on them they highlight things such as how students have increased their interaction, how it's supported develop their aspirations, how it's improved behaviour, a real sense of achievement in students, having a knock-on effect in attendance across clubs and extracurricular, seeing character development, all things I'm sure you'll all recognise within pupils and programmes you're delivering in school. And we're really going to bring some of those life today. So no pressure, Nathan, but that's your job today, to give some first-hand real life experiences from a school setting that's delivered the award. But for now, that's going to stop on terms of the background. Jade is going to give you the context of delivering the award and where it will stem from and where it sits within those school settings.
Thanks, Gaz. Okay, so jumping straight in, the award itself was really born out of conversations and insight gathered through school networks following on from the pandemic, which is why it's been up and running for 5 years now. There was a kind of growing recognition both from educators and employers that too many young people were actually leaving school not always feeling fully equipped with some of the wider skills needed to navigate life, learning and the workplace confidently. So at its heart, this is about educating the whole child through core physical education. It's about intentionally designing those learning experiences that help young people develop skills such as communication, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, resilience, self-belief, all of those, all through the physical domain of learning. We know PE gives us such a powerful environment to do this because young people experience challenge, success, setbacks, collaboration, responsibility in real time and in a safe and supportive space. It's also important to recognise equity here as well. So we know that not all children have equal access to leadership opportunities, enrichment or experiences that help them build on these wider life skills outside of school. So the PELSA approach really helps schools make those opportunities more visible, more intentional, more accessible for all their young people, as core PE is obviously hitting every child and reaching every child in your setting. So next slide, please, Gaz. So what feels particularly timely about this award at the moment is how strongly it actually aligns with the wider direction of travel across the education system. So through the curriculum and assessment review, government response to that, Ofsted as well, there's that continued focus on personal development. We're seeing a much greater emphasis on inclusion as well, well-being, belonging, and as I mentioned before, enrichment, and those wider experiences young people have in school, not just academic outcomes alone anymore. And that's where PELSA really gives schools a practical framework to evidence and strengthen those areas all through PE. Not just PE, it can be through school sport and the physical activity you offer as well. It helps move this work from being an extra or a nice to have as something much more intentional, visible, as I said before, and embedded within your whole school culture. Next slide, please. As well as this, PE life skills is underpinned by physical literacy. We want to provide children, young people with enough positive movement experiences so they develop a meaningful
Jade, sorry, our
Have I
microphone's
been
got
muted?
Everyone's microphone got muted temporarily. So if you want to rewind about 30 seconds, apologies.
Okay, I don't know where 30 seconds is, but we'll go again. Sorry if I repeat myself. I saw people's microphones being muted, but I thought surely not mine. Anyway, let's go back to it being underpinned by physical literacy, and that by focusing on physical literacy, it means you're able to give meaning to this award and to physical activity to all your young people, not just the ones that are the most physically capable. And it hits all four domains of learning. So of course the physical, but also the emotional. So that's skills such as resilience, self-belief, honesty, cognitive skills, concentration, curiosity, problem solving, and then social skills that might be things like fairness, respect, and communication. So therefore, by hitting those four domains, you're really focusing on developing and engaging the whole child, which we know is increasingly important, and the direction of travel where we envisage the national curriculum updates going as well. So that focus on holistic learning is really key. Delivering PE with these life skills obviously has many benefits, ranging from developing their confidence and competence across the four domains, but also equipping the children themselves with knowledge and skills for life, as well as growing their awareness of the importance of having an active lifestyle. Just to name a few there. And just the next slide, please, then, Gaz. So when we talk about PELSA, there are 5 stages to it, and they roughly align with the different key stages within the curriculum. However, when you come to use PELSA, it isn't age locked. You don't have to do stage 1 with key stage 1, for example. We know that's because all children and young people learn at very different rates and develop at different stages. So whilst stage 1 would typically be recommended for ages 4 to 7, key stage 1, and stage 2 for ages 7 to 11, it is just a guide. So you might find that you need to use the stage 2 learning journal, for example, with your stage 3 learners or with an intervention group that you're delivering because they're not quite ready, and that's absolutely fine. You obviously know your pupils best, and the way we've designed PELSA is to make sure it's flexible, and it allows you to be flexible and respond to the needs of the children, young people you're delivering it to. So there we are. I think that's everything, guys. Sorry it threw me a little bit being muted, but I hope everything got across.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jada. And thank you to everyone who quickly popped in the chat. We can't hear you, so thank you for being alert. There were a couple of hands that went up. I think it was Chelsea and Jackie. If that was just to alert us, brilliant. If it wasn't, you did have a question, pop your hand back up and we'll come to you in just a second. Right, going to move on to the next part now, which is our headline act. So I'm delighted that we're joined today by our guest speaker, Nathan Rickard. Nathan has successfully delivered PELSA in a couple of primary school settings in Dorset, and he's going to share with you his experiences. And afterwards, we'll pause for any questions that anybody has about anything we've covered up to this point, but specifically from Nathan's experience of delivery. So, Nathan, if you want to unmute yourself and go for it, that would be great. You just need to hit your microphone button, Nathan, because I can't do it from my end.
Hello.
There we go. Got
Good.
you now, Nathan. Go
Hello.
ahead.
Yeah, Nathan Rickard, Swanham Primary School. Was working at another school called St Joseph's, where I started to introduce this PE life skills. Historically, it was through teaching PE. Over 10 years ago, I had some training from the Youth Sport Trust, and it was looking at developing the whole child, not just physical skills, but those cognitive, social, and emotional skills. So I started developing that and into my teaching through various means. It was the Youth Sport Trust conference in 2021 where I picked up the PE Life Skills program and thought, I've got something tangible and concrete I can deliver rather than just talking with words. So I'm sure Gareth will mention about the booklets and everything. So I teach stage 1 to year 3 and stage 2 to year 5. But we use these terminologies constantly when I'm delivering PE. So I'm currently taking the AFP specialist PE course, and very much when I'm delivering PE now, when we're assessing not just the physical skills, but looking at those social skills and cognitive skills and emotional skills. So the delivery program for year 3 and 5, yes, that's the part with the booklets and the terminology, but I'm using the language throughout PE for all pupils and all aspects. So we're not just saying and praising those children that show physical skills, but we're also praising those children that are showing those other skills like collaboration, responsibility, communication. And so we're developing the whole child through that program, which I've been delivering now, for almost 5 years.
Brilliant. Nathan, got some photos on screen of we did a little visit to your previous school. Is there any particular highlight you could share, or any individuals without naming names that has had a really positive impact on?
I think it's developing those leadership skills. So you're getting children as they get older, they can understand the responsibilities and take responsibility for their actions. And it's not just in PE, it then comes across to other subjects as well. Sorry, dog barking.
Brilliant. We'd love for people to ask any questions of Nathan, so please feel free to raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or type into the chat box about any examples that Nathan's got from his experience, or anything Jade's talked about in terms of the context of the award and the stages. So please do get involved in that. Nathan, a couple other bits to kind of touch on with you. How do you structure the delivery of the award? How would you advise others to start off with in terms of embedding into your lessons and your curriculum?
I think really it's very difficult. But the program that I'm using to deliver has these life skills embedded in it, so I'm using them all the time when in my delivery of PE. So the children are already used to the terminology and the life skills that were involved. So when I actually deliver the actual programs to year 3 and year 5, they're already familiar with those terms. And I ask the children to tell me, what do we mean by resilience? What do we mean by communication? Show me the methods and everything. And they come up with the ideas that they're telling me. They've already got that information in them because through the teaching that we've done. So when I'm delivering the life skills program with the booklet, they're already aware of those life skills. So it's not something strange to them because I'm using that language all the time.
Absolutely. You can see on the images on screen here the learning journals, which we're going to talk about next in terms of the resources. But Nathan, I wonder if you could reflect upon how useful the students have found completing aspects of the booklets.
I think that before it was just using the terminology, but now completing the booklets, they can see and apply those skills in different settings and understand when they're using those skills.
And is it something you refer back to quite a bit?
Yes.
Brilliant. And in terms of those skills being transferred to other aspects across school and back at home, any examples or highlights that you've seen from that?
I just give a recent example, actually. One of the things that we do when they get to year 6 is we give them leadership responsibilities within the school, and they come up with different ideas. And 3 boys came up with an idea that they wanted to do a fun run, raise money for charity. So we organised that, or they organised that with my help and etc. And we decided that rather than just donate it to a charity, we'd use the funds that we got to give it to our school games organiser who was running the London Marathon. And we raised £2,300 for him. And his charity that he was running for was Youth Sport Trust. So it's almost like full circle, come round to developing those skills and then coming up with ideas and then giving something back.
That's a great example. Farah, I can see you've just typed a question. Would you like to come off mute to ask that to Nathan?
I typed it so you didn't make me talk, but
I know I'd get a willing volunteer.
yeah, it was obviously just a question that I've put on is obviously you've got the element of things like sports day where it is very much a competitive feel for things like PE, and so how does that work with the PELSA program where you're recognizing, like you say, children from a holistic, whether that's leadership skill, how does that work in collaboration with things like sports day? Is there a competitive side and then like an inclusive sort of side to it as well?
Yeah, we recognise those children as well that maybe are performing, that they are taking responsibility or they are showing resilience. So it's not always about, yes, we've got those winners in the races, whatever, but we're also rewarding those children for showing those other skills that they may not be physically that able, but they may be better at communication or they may be better at collaboration. So we celebrate those as well.
And how's that landed with the parents? Because like I say, from an education perspective, sometimes you've got to sort of get the parents to think differently as well. So is there any sort of work that goes with the parents?
They can see that we're rewarding not just those physically competent, but also those that are demonstrating those other aspects, those social, emotional and cognitive abilities that they've got. So we're rewarding and showcasing that as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Farah. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there. We've had a question from Jackie, and I'm going to pose the first half to Nathan, and I'll take the second half. The first part was, does this link to Playmaker training? So Nathan, I know that's a program you've been delivering in the school. So Playmaker is a leadership award offered through the Leadership Skills Foundation. So Nathan, if you reflect upon your experience of that, then I'll touch on the second part of what Jackie's asked.
So the Playmaker award, funnily enough, I use in year 4. So that in Key Stage 2, they're getting a sort of training program constantly evolved, and then we do something different in year 6 on top of that. So and that's now, we've been doing that now at one in primary. This is the coming into the 3rd year of doing this, and it's embedded so that children understand already, I'm this year I'm going to be doing the Playmaker because I've got to year 4, or I'm going on to stage 2 of the PE life skills. So this program is now it's a whole leadership program that is embedded, and that is developing the whole child.
Fab. The second part of Jackie's question is about linking into qualifications such as the Community Sports Leaders Award. So Jackie, the way I kind of give the best example is that this program, this award, is about recognising the skills they've got and how they're going to use those across their education, but also across their life. Whereas the leadership awards and qualifications is about developing their leadership skills and using their leadership skills. Now, quite naturally, there's crossover. So if they're developing their life skills, that's probably going to bring out elements of leadership, but they're not being formally assessed in terms of how they are being a leader. This is about how they're using their skills. So it definitely complements it. And if you wanted to build upon this leading into an award or a qualification of leadership elements, it would definitely work. So happy to pick up a separate conversation if you've got a specific area looking to focus on there. There's been another question about costs, so that's something we're going to cover towards the end. So we'll come back to that one. Whoever's answered that one, sorry, the first name isn't there, but N Blunt, thank you for your question there. Does anybody have any other specific questions for Nathan about his experience in a primary setting before we move on to the next section? Okay, no problems. Well, please do keep typing away as we go along. Nathan, once again, massive thank you for sharing that. If you want to hang on and answer any more questions, you can do. If you've got the things to go, I don't want to take up any more of your time. So absolutely up to you, Nathan, on that part.
Okay, I may have to duck out because I've got something else to do now.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time massively.
No
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Nathan.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Last year, we created some case study examples. So you can see on screen, you won't be able to read the text on there because it's pretty small, but we're going to share with you these afterwards. So this is the example from Nathan's school, so a primary setting. We've also got equivalent examples for a secondary school, Formby High, and we've got one from a PRU, a pupil referral unit case study. So we'll share those with you, and for those that are in the relevant settings, you'll be able to take examples and inspiration and to apply it for your own setting. So please do look out for those in the follow-up email that we'll send following today's session. Okay, we're going to move along to the next bit and look at some resources. So we give you a little bit of an inclination that we've got some resources, and I'm pleased to say, a little bit biased here, but I think we've got some fantastic resources that have been created that support the delivery of PELSA. So the big thing there is there's no need for you to go away and spend time creating anything yourselves. It's all being created, and that's been developed over the last 5 years. From feedback received from schools that delivered it, the resources have been adapted, they've been added to, and hopefully improved to make them really effective for schools picking up it as a new programme. On screen here is an example of the web page that you'll get access to when your school signs up to deliver PELSA. On the left, you can see we've got the specific stages. You can see the stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bars. So you would select which stage you're delivering, and there are resource specifics to those stages. I'm going to show you some examples of those in just a second. And on the right, there's some general resources which support any stage, such as a teacher handbook and progress through PE report. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour through these and a flavour of what's involved, so you get an idea as to how you can deliver the award in your schools. So what I've delved into first is the stage 1, just to give you a flavour. We've got 3 elements here. We've got the recognition framework. The framework breaks down the expectations of what pupils will be achieving and how you as a teacher might see or hear that being completed. In the middle section, we've got the learning journals. So you saw in the photos before, Nathan holding a booklet or a pupil completing a booklet. These are really good for learners to complete, record their progress as they're going along. We now have these available in 3 formats. So there's a full version, which has everything in it. There's a full version which is lighter in colour. So again, off the feedback we have received from schools, it's a bit more print friendly, less print colour required for that. And this year we've introduced what we've called a pick up and go version, which has less of the skills in it. Rather than you having to select which ones you want to choose, it starts off as a smaller journal and makes your journey a little bit easier and smoother in the first instance, rather than being bombarded with all the skills. Finally, again, which was new at the start of this academic year, we've got some lesson support slides that have been created. So these are PowerPoints which you can use to introduce each skill and build your delivery around if you wish. So I'm going to go through a little bit of those in a bit more detail and show you some examples of what I'm talking about here. So firstly, this is the recognition framework for stage 1, and these are the social skills. So you can see here the 8 social skills in the pink colour. So you've got gratitude, empathy, fairness, trust, etc. Underneath each skill, you will see a brief overview of the pupil's expectations and how you might, as a teacher, observe or hear those being met as they go through. The frameworks break down all 4 domains and all skills that are applicable to each. So it gives you a nice breakdown across them all. They've been nicely colour coded as well, so you know if you're working on the social, the cognitive, or the physical domains as you're going through. To complement that, we've got the learning journals. This again is the stage 1. This is the front cover of it. In the journal, there are a series of kind of tasks and worksheets that learners can complete. On screen here, there's an example of an empathy worksheet and one for honesty. Again, this is stage 1, so as you progress through, they'll become more age appropriate in terms of the level and the context. All the journals can be typed into if you want to have them completed digitally, or they can be printed and completed by hand. The journals, importantly, they're not compulsory. So you haven't got to bombard your pupils with having to complete loads of written tasks, because I know for some that's going to be a complete turn off and it won't be what you wanted to get out of it. There's a support aid. You might dip in and out of it, you might reflect upon it, you might refer back to things, but you have the opportunity to use it which fits best for the pupils you're working with. Importantly, there's no requirement to formally assess your pupils. Okay, so you haven't got to sit down and mark things they're doing. You might naturally give feedback on things. And there's one report sheet, which we'll come to in a second, which is one thing which we would like you to complete as part of their journey. And the third stage of the things I've introduced here are the lesson support slides. So these are in PowerPoint. As I said, these can provide you with a starting point for introducing each life skill with your pupils. So this is a one for self-belief, as you can see on screen here, and this is the primary example. They're not compulsory. We're not saying you've got to have a classroom setting with it up on the screen. You might have these printed off. You might not use them at all. They're editable. So if you want to put your own context, your own logos on things to really personalize them, you can do so. The way these have been created is a primary version, which is appropriate for stages 1 and 2, and your secondary version for stages 3 and 4, and then a stage 5 one for FE for this post-16 settings. So everything I've shown you so far in terms of the frameworks, the learning journals, and the lesson support slides, they are relevant to each stage of journey. So whether you're picking up at stage 1, stage 2, 3, 4, or 5, you will have the appropriate support resources to support your delivery. Here we have the Your Progress Through PE report. So on the left, this is a document which you must complete for each pupil to show which of the skills they've achieved. And you do this by ticking them off as and when they achieve things. And at the end, you can provide a short summary sentence or two on how they develop their skills and what they can work on moving forward. And we find that as a nice reflective piece that you might present at the end of the year. Certainly has value in going home to parents to recognise skills and things they developed as well. So that is kind of the only document we ask you to complete in terms of recording something. As I said, it's not formal assessment, but it's just a nice tracker and a way to feedback to pupils. On the right-hand side, we've got another optional document, and that's a wall chart, and that's available in sizes of A1, A2, A3, so you can blow them up, you can put them on the walls if you want to, and you can track progress of a whole group here. Now, for some groups, that works really well. It motivates. They can see where they've got gaps they want to achieve and keep up with their friends. For other groups, it might act as a deterrent because they might think, actually, I'm falling a bit behind. So again, it's down to you knowing your groups, whether you think that'll be valuable or not. But as I said, there's loads of resources there that can support you with that journey. So I'm just going to pause again at that point for any questions or reflections on the resources specifically, or anything else we've covered up till now that you want to ask about. So please either raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or type the box and Joe will alert me if we've got some questions coming through. Jackie, do you want to come off mute to ask that question? I want to ask Jay to answer that one. So I think that'd be quite a nice discussion point.
Hi, have I managed it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just basically, I was thinking about it because we do like the playmakers, as I've just sort of raised, and we've been doing that for sort of 10 plus years. In the school I've been, I've also secondary trained PE teacher, so I've done the other leadership ones, which is why I tied that in. Thinking about the skills that you've identified, ideally, would you like them to show that more than once within a unit, within a year? Because you obviously said tick them off. I mean, how's best to do that? Because you don't want to just show it once, you want to show it progressively, don't you?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Really good question. I think schools and settings do this quite differently. I know a couple of schools that focus on one of the skills for a couple of weeks, all the way up to a half term. So it is completely down to how you want to do it. And you're totally right. We would want them to show the skill and demonstrate the skill and use the skill in very different ways and in different environments, more than just once. But it is down to teacher choice as well, however it is delivered. There's been another school that might focus on resilience, for example, but every single year group throughout the whole school for 2 weeks focus on resilience, and they identify that not just in their PE lessons, but maybe walking around school, how they conduct themselves on the playground, and everybody is trying to notice and praise when every young person uses the skill of resilience. So yeah, there's very different approaches, but you would want them to be able to demonstrate it quite comfortably and quite confidently in a range of environments and settings and experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you, Jackie. I saw a hand go up, but it seems to have gone down again. So if that person did still have a question, please do pop your hand up and we'll come to you. I can't see any other questions. Joe, I've not missed any questions have I in the chat?
No, I think we're on top of them all at the moment, but feel free to ask more if you've got any, guys.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll move on to the next step, which is just about some administration side of things. So with this being an award accredited by the Leadership Skills Foundation, there's a few processes that underpin and support schools with getting set up and your ongoing delivery. So this includes things like becoming an approved award centre with us, which we recognise by providing with a certificate. So the one in the top right of the screen there. Supporting with the admin side of it, with the invoicing associated with that. We provide support on going throughout the year, ensure you've got the relevant access to the resources. At the end of your delivery period, now that might necessarily be across the full year, you might focus on across one term, across 2 terms. We'll ask you to provide feedback with a short online form, which is an awards completion and feedback form, which is really valuable to us to see what's working well, where we might need to tweak things and amend things going forward. And we also ask you to supply your numbers that have completed the award, so we can use that for our monitoring and tracking. We don't ask you to register individuals, so you haven't got to provide a list of names or ages or dates of birth, anything like that. We just ask for a number of learners that have completed across each stage. At that point, we ultimately provide you with a certification, which is what we want to give to you, and we provide that in a digital format, which you can either print off or you can issue digitally to your learners. And that will be stage relevant. So it would say whether they've completed stage 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 appropriately. The next steps in terms of creating a license and getting set up. So there's a question about this, which I'll answer just now. So the way the license works is it works on an annual basis. And our annual year runs across the academic year, which runs from August through to July. So your license will be applicable across that full academic year. Now, really good is that we've got an early access offer. So for anybody signing up now, you in effect will get 15 months for the price of 12. You'll get May, June and July to deliver the rest of this term, and you'll get the full 26-27 academic year. So those next 3 months might give you the opportunity to try it with a small group. It might give you time to really get into the resource and get familiar and get ahead of your planning, ahead of perhaps a full rollout when you come back in September time. So that offer is available. To sign up, you can click on the website link below, or you can scan the QR code, which is a bit easier than trying to remember that website URL. And that will take you to a sign up page, which has some further information, bits we've talked about today, some sample resources, and the sign up form. And you can see in the middle there the costs for the license, depending on what school setting you're working towards. There was a question about cost per student. So it's unlimited. So whether you're delivering to 5 or you're delivering to 500, okay, so it really allows that opportunity to get really good value by delivering it across different age groups, across different classes or year groups that you might have in school. So there's no minimum number, there's no maximum number. So you make it fit best for your individual setting. A hand's gone up. Aaron, do you want to come on mute and ask that question?
Hi there. Have I come through?
Yes, got you, Aaron.
Perfect. Yeah, just a quick question regarding that. I'm working in a special needs setting for autism. We're a through school from primary all the way through to F&E. I was just wondering if that would affect pricing for this, or would we have to buy it all in single prices?
No, you would do it in one. If you're not sure which category you fall into, if you pop us an email, we'll give you some advice based on the numbers you've got and the age groups you're working with, because we appreciate an SEND setting can vary in terms of the primary and secondary and the all through. So on the next screen, Aaron, we'll pop up the email address and you can send us an email and we'll support you with that journey.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara.
I'll just take myself off mute. Just off the back of that, so I volunteer for a charity organisation. So is there an age limit for children? Is it only up to 18 years? Because obviously we look after people who, you know, their classes NEET, or there's homeschool kids. Is this something that could apply to them if we were looking as a charity to, you know, explore this PALSA licence?
Potentially it could be. The way it's been created and written is to sit within a school setting.
Okay.
But if those school pupils are kind of working alongside of the programs, it could be beneficial and sit in with that. So it might be worth having a separate conversation to properly understand how that's going to work.
Okay. Yep. Great. Thank you.
But certainly not a no.
Okay. Thanks.
Joe's really handily put the link into the chat as well. Well done, Joe. So if you wanted to click on that to save you, you can get straight through to that sign up page with that information. Okay, the last couple of bits, and we'll just pause at the end for any questions after this, is to identify some next steps for you. So Youth Sport Trust, you can see the PE Life Skills Award at youthsporttrust.org email address. Jade and James have got fantastic expertise in their teaching background. So Jade being primary and James being secondary. So if you have questions about embedding it within the curriculum, where it's going to fit within your school provision, they can be really, really beneficial conversations with Jade or James to support you with those conversations. From the Leadership Skills Foundation, so from mine and Joe's perspective, you can contact us for any advice in terms of setting things up in terms of the purchasing, the accessing resources, the certification, the admin side of things. So please do reach out to whichever journey you think is relevant. We've also got a really useful bank of FAQs. So I'll share that as part of the follow-up email as well. So questions that other schools have asked are probably questions that are on your mind in terms of how long does it take to deliver, how many students can I deliver to, etc. So we've got quite a lot of questions on there as well. So please do have a look at those and contact us if you have anything further. So just before we finish, I'm going to open the lines again. Anybody got any final questions they wanted to ask? Jackie, I'm going to pose this one to Jade because you've probably got better experience about use of sports premium for funding the award license.
Yep, absolutely. It's a great use of your PE and Sport Premium. Obviously, we don't know what's happening next year, but if you've still got some budget left this year, it's a great way to use it. And hopefully, PE and Sport Premium will be continuing, and you can continue to use it that way. But yes, definitely utilize it.
Fab. Aaron, your hand's up. I'm not sure if it's from before, whether it's another question. So feel free to ask if you do have one, or if not, we'll know it's from before. Perfect. Hand's gone down again. Super. Right, Jade, anything else you wanted to add before we close?
Nope, I think that's everything. But as you've already said, guys, absolutely get in touch. Drop us an email, give us a call if you do have any questions. And I think it's one of those programs, one of those awards that when you get it and when you make it work for your setting, it's absolutely fantastic, and people continue on and on with it. Just when we're trying to explain it to you now, it can seem a bit confusing and maybe a bit overwhelming. There's lots of bits and bobs to the story, but once you make sense of it, it's wonderful and such a great resource and really benefits the whole child. So yeah, do drop us a message if you need anything.
Thank you, Jade. Aaron, your hand has gone up again, so I'll just give you the opportunity if you've got a question. You're on mute, though, Aaron. You'll need to unmute if you do have a question. Maybe not. Send us an email, Aaron, if you haven't trouble with your microphone, and we'll follow up with you. But that just leads me to round things up. I want to say a massive thank you to Jade, to Joe, and to Nathan, who's now left us for your contributions today. It's great to have you as part of the team. Thank you all for attending. I hope you found it useful. I've got a good understanding about where the PE Life Skills Award could fit within your school. Please do get in touch if you've got any questions. We will follow up with an email, which will have the recording of the session if you wanted to watch anything back or share with colleagues that might be part of that journey. We'll share you with those case studies so you can have a look at that and get some further inspiration, and some links, some FAQs as well. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.